Welcome to the Careers by Jen podcast, episode 200. On this episode of the podcast, Jen discusses cultural fit and asks, does it matter? And the sign said, long-haired freaky people need not apply.
You're listening to the Careers by Jen podcast with me, Jen Swanson, the podcast that helps you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. Welcome to episode 200. Can you believe it? 7 years young and still lots to talk about here at Careers by Jen. I want to thank you for being here, for your loyalty, for sticking with me through the rebranding and the name change of the show last year, for your time spent listening. And thank you for your feedback, too, all the notes and the emails and the messenger messages and the comments on Instagram and Twitter. And I want to thank you for the reviews that you've left us as well. We wouldn't be here without you. You are most appreciated. One thing I didn't take into account when I decided to record this episode today is that I would be recording it later on Halloween night, after the wee ones have finished trick-or-treating. And one of the things that happens here in Canada is that fireworks and firecrackers begin about 8 o'clock at night. And they're a big deal, and they go off well into the night. They are in celebration. So if you hear pops and bangs in the background, it's a huge part of the Halloween tradition here, and that's what you'll be hearing. I hope you don't hear anything, but if you do, there's not much I can do about it. My podcast studio is finally drywalled, and the mud and the tape have happened. There's still no floor in there, but it's getting there. It's taking a very long time, but I'm looking forward to what that is going to sound like as soon as it is finally finished. Well, today I wanted to talk about the idea of cultural fit, about how well a job seeker might fit into the culture and the ethos of a company, and whether or not paying attention to cultural fit still matters. Now, we're not talking about ethnic culture here. We're talking company culture. It's a hot topic in the interview world, and so I want to dive in a little into this topic. I'm going to answer the question, does it matter, right after this.
You've updated your resume, you've sent it out, and you've been selected for an interview. Congratulations! And now, you want to get ready. Really ready. This is where Careers by Jen can help. We have a comprehensive online course called How to Ace a Job Interview When You Haven't Interviewed in a Long Time. This video-based course is jam-packed with information, advice, and exercises to help you get completely prepared to walk into an interview situation with confidence. From exactly what to prepare in advance, to how to answer common questions, to what questions you might ask the interviewer, and so much more, this course is designed to get you ready. Visit careersbyjen.com and click on Training Resources to see the curriculum, preview a couple of the introductory lessons, and see what others who have taken the course are saying about it. Visit careersbyjen.com and get ready to ace your next interview.
Cultural fit. Does it matter? Well, the answer is yes and no. And I know that isn't very satisfactory, but it's because the thinking is changing a bit on the subject. For some time, hiring was very focused on how well the candidate would fit into the culture of a company. And I still believe that from a job seeker's perspective, this is an important consideration. But I don't think it's the only one. So let's look at that first before I get into some of the new thinking on the subject. As an employee, you don't want to spend most of the waking hours of your life working in a place that you don't fit into or don't feel compatible with. If you are looking for a job or a career change, a big factor in even beginning to search for something new is the organizational culture. What is the company like? Is it fast-paced or is it more laid back? What does the physical space of the company look like? How do the people work as a team? What kinds of activities And what kinds of training do they have? Are there social events? Is there a social aspect to the organization or not? And things to think about, right even down to the dress code. What does the company dress code look like? Are they casual? Are they very formal? Are they somewhere in between? Is there a company ball team or a charitable cause that they support as a group on a regular basis? Is it a highly competitive environment, or is it a collaborative one, or is it a mix of both? What's the average age range? What is the gender mix? There are a lot of questions to ask when you are trying to figure out, when you're trying to discern the culture of a place. And part of what I encourage my students to do in my How to Ace a Job Interview course is to really pay attention to and to research what this company's culture is in order to decide whether or not it's a culture that you would be comfortable joining into. Because remember, it's not just that you are being interviewed by the company or by the people who are doing the hiring. You're interviewing to see if you are interested in joining this company and this culture as well. So how do you do that research? Well, if it's a company you can go into as a customer, if it's something you can just walk into, then I highly encourage you to do that and get a sense of the space, a feel of what it's like. Check out anything and everything that you can find out in person. And if you can't find out things in person, if you can't go in there, or if you can, one thing you can do is you can research online. Look at anything and everything you can find online. So company reviews are particularly helpful, newsletters, news items, advertising, articles and social media posts. Look for images of the workspace. Look for pictures of the people who are working there. What do they look like? Read the bios of some of the employees if you're able to, some of the top executives and the managers, or of whoever you can find who is working in the area that you want to work in. Another thing to do is to find out if there is anyone you know who has ever worked there or who currently works there that you could maybe book a coffee chat with to ask them a little bit about company culture, because inside information is invaluable. I recently did a lunch and learn in an organization that looked like a fun and fantastic place to work just by how the welcome area and the lunchroom were decorated. Now, I know that doesn't say everything about company culture, but there were things that just made it seem welcoming. It made it seem as though the employees were cared about and cared for. There were stations for charging laptops and phones. There were several brightly colored nooks for sitting in. There was a long lunch table with fabulously upholstered stools to sit at. There were lamps and throw pillows. There were bulletin boards that had workshops and training opportunities posted all over them. There were lockers for the staff to keep their stuff in, their things in. There was a coffee and a water station. And I also noted a gorgeous silver-colored freestanding flagpole right in the welcome space with a full-sized rainbow flag hanging from it. And the sign on the washroom door said something like non-gendered washroom. And so all of these things gave me a sense that this was a place of inclusion. This was a company that paid attention to the comfort and the well-being of its employees and also of anyone who visited the space. Now, it could be just window dressing, as they say, but I really didn't get the impression from the people that I met when I was giving the workshop, from the way they interacted and the general atmosphere in the room. It all seemed very genuine to me. And I got the impression that it would have been a good fit for me culturally, a great place had I been looking for work. You can tell a lot by just your first impression walking into a place. So I do encourage you to do that if you're able to do that. Walk into the place physically and check it out. If not, you can get a very good idea, again, online. One thing I encourage you to do is look for company values and look for a mission statement or a vision statement of the company. And think about how that aligns or doesn't align with your own personal values and with what is important to you in your life and in the world. So your values need to align well with the values of the company, or there will be a disconnect and there will be friction and you will not be comfortable working in this place. And all of these things are very good to begin with, because one thing many companies do now is they do something called, they do an interview that is specifically designed to see if you fit culturally. Sometimes now you'll have multiple interviews. You'll have an interview, informational interview, you'll have an interview for your skills, and then they will do a specific cultural fit interview. And so any of the research that you do in the first place to see whether or not you even want to apply to this place, any of that research will help you to prepare for such an interview with them for the purpose of cultural fit, should you decide that this is a job that you want to pursue. Now, if you do decide what you like and what you see and what you find out, and if you are prepared to go for it, then to prepare for the cultural fit part of the interview, you need to practice. Practice your responses to some of the most common interview questions, and think about your values and what you have discovered about yourself over the years and how you show up in the workplace. And think about what you have discovered about the culture of the company and try to align your answers with those things, keeping in mind that you want it to be real and you want to be yourself and you want to bring the real you to your interview. So it needs to be honest. But try to align your answers, if your values match up, with the culture and the values of the organization. Pretending to fit in to an organization that you know you really won't fit into is going to lead to heartache and challenges for all involved. So some good deep thinking about how you want to answer the questions in advance is going to make a lot of difference. You're going to come off far more polished, far more prepared. And again, be real and honest in how you answer, and everyone will make better decisions in the end. In order to feel comfortable with your decision to move forward, after you've done this research and you've done this preparation, you might want to have some questions prepared in advance as well. Questions about the culture of the company that will help you to learn a little bit more. So this is during your interview. You might want to have some questions for the interviewer. When they ask, do you have any questions? You want to have some questions. I always say that you must have some questions. But some of the questions you can ask are, how does training work in this organization? How is conflict dealt with? How is creativity valued? How are teams built? How is achievement rewarded? And these kinds of questions and the answers that you will get from asking these questions will give you an idea of company culture and give you a better sense of whether or not this is going to fit for you. So cultural fit from a job seeker's perspective absolutely matters, because you are the one who is going to have to live in this place for most of your waking life when you are working a full-time job. Because again, you're there for 8 hours. It depends on your shifts, of course, but you're there for 8 hours or more every day working with all of these people. So you want to be sure that you will fit in and you'll feel comfortable. And this will be a place that aligns with who you are in your value system. It's really, really important. Now, it's not the only thing that matters. So that brings us to the next part of this show. When does cultural fit not matter? Well, we're going to look into that right after this.
Are you procrastinating? Do you want to start a job search but aren't quite sure where to begin? Is it all just a little overwhelming? At Careers by Jen, we have a 5-day Jumpstart Your Job Search Challenge to help you get unstuck and move toward finding your dream job. Every day for 5 days, you'll receive an email to your inbox that asks you to complete one task. Every task you complete moves you closer toward your goal. The best part about this challenge is that it's absolutely free. Come over to careersbyjen.com and you'll see the 5-day Jumpstart Your Job Search Challenge on the right-hand side of the screen. Click on the image of Jen, sign up with your email address, and you'll be 5 days closer to reaching your goal. Why wait when you can get busy? Visit careersbyjen.com after this podcast.
Remember earlier when I said that some thinking in hiring circles is changing around interviewing for cultural fit? Well, what's been happening is that when companies hire predominantly for fit, which can actually be a very vague criteria unless they thoroughly define what that means for them as a company, as an organization, when they hire mainly for fit, what they lose is diversity. Diversity of thinking and of personality and of working styles and of leadership methods and of perspective and of much, much more. If everyone is similar or thinks or operates the same way, then you end up with a harmonious and compatible workplace, maybe, but you lose the friction that causes creativity to emerge and the growth that comes from working to acknowledge difference while collaborating. Some conflict and some disagreement is necessary for energy and for new ideas to burst forth. And there are instances in which we need friction in our lives. There are times where we need conflict. It can be motivating and it can help us to learn and to grow as human beings. It's kind of like blood pressure. We need it. If you didn't have any blood pressure, you would be dead. You don't want super high blood pressure because it's dangerous to your health. And you don't want super low blood pressure because you'd be fainting all the time. So you need some blood pressure to be healthy and alive. It's the same with conflict. You need a little bit. You need some to be healthy as a team and as an organization. And by conflict doesn't always mean fighting. It means disagreement. A conflict can be simply a different perspective or a different idea so that people have to go back to the drawing table and start again and come up with something new that people can buy into around that table. So conflict is good in some ways. You need to be healthy as a team and as an organization, and hiring everyone with the same or similar cultural perspective or working style will actually not advance the company, nor will you be able to relate to a diverse market or a diverse client base if every person comes at their working style from the very same or similar lens. So, for a while there, cultural fit was the buzzword, and cultural fit superseded or seem to be more important than skills and experience in some organizations. And that has often backfired as well. Instead, what's more important is the candidate for the job a good addition to the team? Is this somebody that's going to bring gifts and skills and a new perspective or a viewpoint or diverse experience or maybe some different education or a new leadership style to the group that will complement the group? Does this person have a way of doing things that's innovative rather than the same old that you've got already? So how will this person challenge the team, and how will this person change the team for the better? So from the perspective of someone looking for a job, when we're now looking at cultural fit as being important but not being the only thing, how can you, after having researched the culture of an industry or a company that you want to apply to, how can you pitch yourself as a complement to the team if you don't absolutely fit in with what your research has shown you? Is there something that you can bring that is unique? And how do you play that up? And can what you know and what you bring with you solve a particular problem that the company might be having right now? Is there something that your skills, which might be different than the skills or the experience of the people in the team already, is there something that you can bring that will be a value-added aspect to the team? So my answer about whether or not cultural fit matters is still yes and still no. Given that if you are working full-time, and again, you'll be spending 40 hours plus a week in the place, you want to have some compatibility, as I said before. You need to feel comfortable within yourself, and you need to feel that you will belong in this organization and that you don't have any glaring discrepancies, any things that really will make it difficult for you to stay if it's a place that you want to stay. But that doesn't need to be where it ends. And you might actually surprise yourself. You might think that a culture in a certain company doesn't fit for you or might not work for you, not because of the values thing, but, maybe everybody's a different age, or maybe there's a different vibe going on that doesn't really fit for you. But as long as the values of the company line up with yours, the rest will often sort itself out. And you might be exactly what the company has been waiting for. Someone to bring fresh perspective, some unique experience, and some diversity into the mix. Someone to introduce new ideas and a different work style to shake things up a bit. So I encourage you that if it doesn't seem exactly like a place that you're used to being, if it's got a different style that's not really your style, as long as, again, you, in your heart and your soul, you know that you can, and your gut, you know that you can work there, your ethics line up and the rest of it. As long as you feel that you can work there from that perspective, then the rest of it will sort itself out. And who knows, you might be the perfectly right fit and a beautiful addition to the team after all. You've been listening to Careers by Jen with Jen Swanson. If you like what you heard, please share this. If every single person listening today shared this episode with just one friend, our audience would be twice as big just like that. And the more people we can help with our content, the better. So help out a friend and help grow our audience by sharing this show with someone you know who would benefit from the content. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, take good care.